and welcome back to Richard's Toy Room once again. So today, as you saw, since you clicked on the video, you already know obviously, I'm not only going to show you how to fix a broken leg. Well, we're not really going to fix the leg, although it is possible to do that. But I'm going to show you how to replace the leg on a Mego 1 million BC caveman figure. And also this will address if you need to replace the elastic as well, which are very commonly worn out on this type body as well. I don't know if there's an actual body type that these are referred to. You know how there's type 0, type 1, type 2, etc. There's a few oddball body types that don't really have a numeric value or anything like that. But the closest thing to this body is a Fonzie figure. And if you recall, I probably should have grabbed one, but I didn't really realize I was going to be talking about it. But the original Fonzie figure has a little button on his back that you push down, and he also has the thumbs that move, up and down. And so he'll go like this if you do the button on his back. In other words, A, like he used to do on the Happy Days show. Anyway, if you've watched any of my videos, you know I just love going off on tangents. Anyway, what I'm also going to show you, unexpectedly, which I didn't find out until I went to go fix this figure, and I wasn't really going to do a video about it until I realized that I had never done a video on it, and I have the rare opportunity to show you what's inside this figure. Even I didn't know because I've never seen the inside of one. It's very similar to the fist fighting figures, sort of. In the way that the arms kind of attach and stuff like that. Again, sort of, not really. I mean, they're not interchangeable or anything like that. But kind of interesting. So stick around. Let me reposition the camera and we'll get right to it. And here we are. So I'd like to mention something before we get started. I hope the lighting is acceptable. I bought these nice photography stand lights. And unfortunately, we can't really get anything made in this country anymore, so these come from, of course, China. And the crappy bulbs in them, which are supposed to be adjustable with this remote control, with all these different settings, unfortunately, I'll show you. I usually use the either the cold or the white setting, which is a lot nicer and brighter. But the only thing left is warm. I can't adjust anything on these anymore. So watch when I hit like cold, the lights turn off. You're just getting lights from the rest of the room is what you're seeing right now. So I have to order new bulbs for them, and the bulbs cost about half as much as the whole setup with the lights, unfortunately. But that's neither here nor there. But I just wanted to let you know in case you kind of noticed that maybe the lighting looks a little not as bright as it should. So anyhow, so here's a Mego 1 million BC figure. This figure is Trag. There's 5 different figures. I have them all at least loose, I think. I'd have to double check on that. But I also have many of them mint on card, which I'll do a video on one of these days. Anyway, this figure is complete. Here's his other boot. As you can see, he's missing the lower part of his leg. Very common on these. I'm going to call it type 2 Mego figure because that's what the main structure of the body is. But again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, he's his own body type, unique to this figure. And we'll show you that after we get them all repaired. I'll show you what he's supposed to do. In fact, I think, unless I forget somewhere down the line, I'm going to try to recreate the one part he is missing, which is the foam dart with the magnetic tip on it. So that he will be technically complete, even though it'll be a custom-made, homemade dart replacement. I do have a couple that are in the packages, but I'm not going to open them just to get the dart out. Anyway, get back to him. So just so you know, that's the only accessory that he comes with that kind of would for the most part, like 99.9% of the time, unless he's on the card is missing, is that dart. But a lot of times they're missing their little booties. They all came with booties, and then they all had these loincloths, except for the female figure, which kind of had a sort of a dress, sort of, for lack of a better word. And then they all had these bear claw necklace things, which were also on some other figures. So anyway, let's get him declothed here. At least take this part off to get it out of our way. Leave that on, it's not going to hurt anything. So while I was going to repair this figure, I was going to just swap this leg out. So I just grabbed, I already took the leg off of the, just took a headless Mego that I just had a body laying around, and I removed the leg in anticipation of just swapping out. They're identical. There's no difference between these legs and a regular Type 2 Mego. So that's the leg that's going to go on here. But when I started taking the leg off, I realized the torso was cracked. So I was just going to slap some glue on there and glue it back together. But then I realized the whole thing is cracked. And the only thing that wasn't was just up here on the one shoulder. So I just popped that real quick. And now he completely disassembles. So this gives us the rare opportunity to actually see what's inside and how this thing works. So torso comes off. There's nothing broken on this at all. It all cracked right at the glue seam. And we'll glue them back together real nice with our friend Plastic Weld. But for right now, we're going to take him apart so you can see how he works. Get these out of the way. I'll show you these in a little bit. And we can get his head out of the way. Now here, whoops, didn't mean for that to fall out yet. Here is how these things were engineered. So now you can see it's two different arms. This arm is just on a little block that sits inside here. This pops right off, and that's all you got for the left arm. And these don't quite pivot as much as the fist fighters do, because they have a pin, whereas the fist fighter, this is like a ball joint, and the whole arm will pop off the ball joint on the fist fighters. But it's very similar in the way it's kind of set up. But anyway, let's just pop that back in there just to get it out of our way. So here's what's left. Here's the back. He's got the button here, just like the Fonzie. But the difference in this one is, well, actually there's not a whole lot of difference. I'll bet anything that Fonzie, which I've never taken apart, is pretty much exactly like this, except this is probably mirrored on this side of the body, since they both move up and down. Because only the right arm moves on this one. I don't know if let me see if I can hold it and actually do it while it's... I'll see it just popped right off the spring. I forgot about that, since there's nothing holding it. Let's see if I can do it now. Kind of hard with nothing in here. I have nothing holding it down, but I mean, you can see it doesn't move that much. What you actually do when you're doing this is you put the arm, because the arm is at the shoulder, it'll hold position like that. It has like little locking positions. And you put the dart, there's a metal disc embedded in the right hand. That's another unique feature of this figure. And the little magnet on the dart sticks to this, just enough to hold it up there. If it was to stick real tight, that would kind of defeat the purpose. And what you basically do is you just kind of pull this down and then let it go. You can see how it kind of gives a little flick. I'm pushing on this so it's not letting it do it as much, but when I get it all done, we will show you exactly, because it's kind of neat. But anyway, this pops out of there if you wanted to, and there you go. I mean, that's all there is to it. So, now these are actually kind of a pain in the butt to change, because the way these are, the rubber band's pinned, let me see if I have one here handy to show you. Okay, so on a regular Type 2, there's a little metal hook in here that hooks to the other end of the rubber band in the body up there. And that allows this to pivot without making the other, because they're done at an X, like the left leg is connected to the right arm. And so if you were to like keep twisting, like say the leg or something, you could break the rubber band. But since it's done with these hooks, and the same thing up here, that allows them to, well, especially up in there in the shoulder, because it has a little other like rotating mechanism to keep it from winding up. But that allows it to not break as easily. It won't twist up and get too much torque on it and snap. But since that's not really needed on the legs on these, I mean, all that you're doing is moving, you know, like either like that or like a sitting position, you know, bending over a little bit. It's really a kind of a poor figure, because the torso is part of the pelvis, or vice versa. Pelvis is part of the torso, not two pieces like on a normal figure. So they don't stand up very well usually, especially if this rubber band gets stretched out or loose, or it could also break. But the way you get these out of here is a little difficult. You have to kind of push this pin out of the side. It's really kind of a pain in the butt. Especially if it's still mounted in the figure. I mean, I'm doing it here on the table and it's difficult. So when we put this back together, it's going to be even more difficult. But, you know, now I'm thinking about it, I think I'll actually do it a little differently. So let's pretend this is in the figure. So what you're going to do is pull this out and then just stick something in there. You can use a toothpick or anything. So I used a screwdriver. And then you're going to want to remove this hip joint pin, this part. Now these can break if you're not careful with them, so you know, be careful. But if you break it, you just have to get another one. And they're even there's reproduction ones of these too if you need them, but they're obviously not even as good as the originals. But they will work. Anyway, so now you got that. So if this was still in the figure, what I would recommend doing would be to also pull this out and put another screwdriver in this part. I'll show you in a second. Which when it would still be on the body. So basically you'd be doing this. And then you'd have to additionally do what I did to get the hip pin out. But since this is already torn apart, we don't have to do that. So now, in order to swap the leg over, you obviously have to remove this. Pull that out like that. So now you got the rubber band on this side. Kind of straighten it out there so it's got its loop back. And this you can throw into your parts bin in case you need replacement part. And these are good too if you're going to repop a knee. You can always save these female sockets. But that'll go on my parts bin with the 100 other ones I have. So anyway, now since we got the body apart, I'm just wondering if I should make this more difficult for myself or not. Because I could just put this back on the way that I took it off. So here we go. Let's pop this out. We don't need this. So always save this stuff because you never know when you're going to need it. There's the Type 2 pin with the metal C hook, whatever you want to call it, attached to it. We'll save that too. But then with the little parts, we'll just reuse the one that came with it. So what you're going to do is kind of reverse the process. So you're going to want to push this through here. Screwdriver, sharp screwdriver might not be the best option for this, but I'm being careful. But you see, you want to get that through the hole. I'm not going to push it right now. So I think I will actually show you the hard way to do it when he's all back together. So that's what we're going to do now. Let me grab the glue. Okay, here's what we're going to use to repair the body. This works great on this hard type of kind of styrene-ish. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I call it styrene plastic because it's very similar to what a model is made of, and this works great on that. So let's move that off to the side for the second. Okay, so now you could put this all back together, you know, like so, and you know, put the head, but I'm going to leave that off. Oh, one thing I should mention before I forget, on these here, if you do have to take the head off, now like you saw, this body was cracked apart, so the head basically just fell off. These are very susceptible to breaking around the neck hole if you're not careful. If your head's not real soft, see how this one's real soft? If your head's not real soft like this, you could risk severely damaging this trying to get the head off, so you may want to warm it up first in some hot water or a hair dryer or something. But basically, you know, be real careful when you're actually popping the head off. You can break this. I have seen them severely broken, and then the head won't stay on. But we'll put it on afterwards. It'll pop right in. Just make it easier with what we're working with here. So we have to put the mechanism back in. So make sure you turn it around the right way. It's pretty simple. It's not a whole lot to it. Oh, before I do that, I am going to put a little bit of lube on this. It seemed like it was kind of sticky a little, so just a tiny bit of lube. Let me grab a Q-tip here. Just in the parts where it pivots. So let's see. I'm just going to put it in two areas. I'm going to put it here. Now when you're putting this on, don't put it anywhere where you're going to put the glue or it won't hold. And I'm going to put it right here. This joint, and then also on the opposite side. Make sure you're doing the right side. So here and there. All right, that should help it move a little better. So we're going to put the left arm. I didn't bother putting any lubrication on this side. It's not anything that needs to be funned around with. Pop this in. And don't forget to put your spring on the center post. Okay. Now we just take the body, put the two halves together. There's no need with this glue to put any glue on it beforehand because it has like a capillary type action. So you just put it on the seams and it'll seep right in there. So put a little there and then squeeze it. And you can actually, if you look real close, depending on how hard you squeeze and how much glue you put on, you can actually see it kind of melting a little bit there, which is basically what it's doing. So now we want to do the side. You don't want to go too crazy with this glue because it will leave marks if you put too much on. It dries really fast too, so you're going to want to squeeze it real soon after you put it in there or it doesn't quite catch sometimes. Now you could also use just plain old model glue and put it on the seams and put together. I don't know, I just kind of like this glue because it's kind of cool. So now we'll do up here on the shoulders. Now, in case you were unaware, another side benefit of this glue, depending on how you look at it, is it also works in reverse for the most part. In other words, if you were trying to get this seam apart, if you put enough of this glue on and let it seep in there, it will eventually weaken the original glue and make it easier to break apart. Sometimes. It doesn't always work, but for the most part it does make things a little easier. So, I think we're done here. There we go. I mean, ideally you'd want to let this sit, perhaps clamp it or put some rubber bands on it, maybe overnight, although it'd be dry way before that, but it's okay for our purposes here. I'm not going to stick the head in yet because that might pop the seam, being that it's still kind of fresh. There's one other thing I wanted to address on here I forgot. I'll put this up so you can see. If you look on his right, this side, pectoral, you can see kind of a round spot there. That was a melt mark. This kind of plastic is notorious for melt marks if it gets up against like a rubber or something when it's sitting like in a toy box or whatever. Rubber accessories are like notorious for doing this to action figures and stuff like that. So I want to see if I can get some of that gone. I already went at it with the razor blade and kind of cut the melted part off. It'll never go away completely. But if we take some light sandpaper, this here is 2000 grit. You can even go finer than that if you want. Just kind of smooth it out as best you can. See, the chests show on these figures, so you'd kind of like to get any defects off them if you could. Like I said, it's not going to go completely away because I didn't want to cut off down too deep, but enough to make it less noticeable. I guess you could say it was a spear injury or something. Maybe one of his rival tribes chucked a spear at him back in 10,000 BC or something. Or 1 million BC. I forget is that what they're called, 1 million BC? Yeah. Take a little bit of our scratch X. There, that looks a lot better. Not nearly as noticeable. Good? Good. All right, so how about we get to that leg? All right, so this rubber band is actually good, so we don't have to replace it. Now, if you did, just so you can see, let's pop this out. And why not make things like 5 times more difficult for myself? All right, so let's pop this out. And as you can see, what I would think would be a good replacement for this would be a very small O-ring. Now, unfortunately, I left my micrometer downstairs, but we can just use this. So let's see how big this actually is. I don't know if you have much luck finding a rubber band this size. It's very small. So a very small diameter O-ring would probably work just as well. And you're going to want to go, I think, maybe, trying to think of the diameters they come in. Not very big, a couple of millimeters at the most, if that. And I mean, it's thickness on here, but of course it's a rubber band, so it stretches and stuff. So that's kind of hard to say is like 1/8 of an inch. But 1/8 of an inch O-ring is not going to work because that's way too big to fit in here. So you'd have to get like one of those skinny O-rings, and it'd have to be real small like this. I wish I had my millimeter thing here. This is about 18/32, which is 9/16 of an inch. I'm not sure what that is in millimeters. But just in case you needed some measurements, that's what kind of the dimensions you're looking for. So let's get this back together. Something like this would probably come in handy for what we're about to do. This is being very uncooperative. See, it's hard to get these on here because the rubber band is so thick it barely fits in here. I mean, it's almost like thinning itself as you're pushing into this tiny crack. That's why the O-ring would be a hard fit unless you got this very skinny one. And you kind of have to figure out the diameter you need too. It might be a trial and error type thing, because then you need enough tension as well. Okay, there we go. See, that's a pain in the butt. So, we're going to put it through the other way, because since I got the hook over here, that'll make it easier. Alright, so like that, and you pull it through. Yeah, just like that. Pull it through. Get in there. There. Okay, we're back to where we started from here with this leg. All right, so now I would recommend maybe working on its belly so that you're not pushing on this and chance breaking it. But either way, I would put the arms up. And shouldn't have to tell you, make sure you put the correct leg on the correct side of the body, but I'm sure there's people out there who are kind of thick-skulled. So you get that on there. You want to reach in here and drop everything. Reach in here. Ugh, really? The hook one will work a little better than this L-shaped one. It just happens to be the one I had handy. All right, so now, you remember the other figure where I had this, holding this like this? Okay, now what I would recommend is getting this and swapping it out with this one. Because you're going to need this hook again. Okay, so you see what we're doing here? Holding that leg on. So now the figure's kind of back to where we started from, except for the head and the missing leg. So now, where's our new leg? Okay, right here. New leg. Now what we need to do is get that rubber band through that hole so we can hook this other peg on. So, what you're going to want to do is I think, well, there's a couple easy ways to do this. So why make it hard on ourselves? You can use string, elastic, whatever. I just chose to find an old twist tie. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to push this twist tie in between the rubber band. Get it about even there. So got something that's going to work for you. There we go. Now, push the two ends through here, like that. And probably would be easier to hold on to some pliers. So I'm going to grab this. Hopefully this won't fall out. And I'm going to pull this, hopefully, through here. Okay, there we go. Now, you can pull this out and put it through this side, like that. Now, you can pull out your whatever you use to pull it through. In my case, the twist tie. Now here's the fun part. Okay. Now you got to get this hooked on that rubber band. This is always fun. All right. So, best way to probably, if you can, is to get someone to help you. But it's going to be really hard to show this. Try to pull it out from the figure enough so that you're getting behind the screwdriver here, and the rubber band stretched enough that you can get this hooked on it. Okay, got it on the first try. All right, so I'll show you this in a second. You can see I've got that pin hooked on the rubber band. So now I'm going to carefully hold on to that and then pull the screwdriver out. All right, got it. Now, there. And we're done. His leg is fixed. So we can put his booty on now, I guess. since he's already got the other one on. And you'll see quite quickly how they do not stand up very well. But they will. So, all right. All right. Now, you can get these necklaces over the head, but since they got a lot of hair, it's kind of hard. And since you're going to put the head on anyway, it's just easier to just loop the necklace up over his face or something, so that you're putting it on the same time you're putting the head on. It does also help if to like lube this up a little bit. You can just kind of like use saliva. I know that's gross, but you can. But this should go on pretty easy because the holes are actually a little sloppy on these. I mean, you can see they're kind of like the heads on a FTC figure where they're not really snug, but they fit. And so there he is in all his naked glory. So now we have to put his loincloth back on. And this is an actual Mego thing. It's got a tag right here, in case you were wondering. In case you're looking for one, you want to find it. Of course, you can't always guarantee the tag's going to be there, but you know what I mean. Not exactly the most modest outfit, but his butt's kind of hanging out in the back. Okay, so let's see if we can get him to actually stand. Barely. There he goes. All right, so how about we try to make one of those darts now, huh? So here we are back with the caveman all done. And I pulled out, his name is Trag, from the 1 million BC line here. This is Trag in the mint on card. Well, he's as close as you can get. The card is actually cracked, or the bubble's actually cracked on top, so you can technically get him out of there, but he's still never been played with. If you look real close, you can see between his legs there, the original foam and magnetic dart. And the instructions for how to do it behind. And if you're curious, I can show you what's on the back here. This was never made. It would be really cool to get. And here's the absolutely insanely rare dinosaurs. And I've never had the chance to own one of these. They're just incredibly expensive if you can ever find them. They have little metal plates on the side where the darts or the spears will, what do you call it? Where the spears will attract, and that's kind of it's almost like a little game. And it shows you the prototypes up here of the figures, and it shows them with the spear, which they did not come with like that. So, anyhow, what's really interesting, let me get him out of the way, is I have recreated the original spears with magnetic tips. Mine are just maybe a couple of millimeters bigger, thicker, whatever you want to call it. They're the same length, but I cut them out of the same kind of foam that they used, and then I got these pre-cut magnets that were exactly the right size as the thickness of the foam. Unfortunately, the only problem with these is the adhesive that comes with these magnets is pretty crappy, so I think I'm going to have to use double-sided tape on ones that I make in the future. And I will be selling these on eBay if anybody's interested in getting them for their figure. But I'd like to show you a demonstration of how cool this actually is. Okay, so as you remember, he has the magnetic disc, or the metal disc in the palm of his hand, which the spears stick to. He's going to be shooting at this dinosaur, which is a metal lid, but it serves the purpose. So you just pull the button down on his back and let it go. Oh, shot that one a little too far. So what do you think? That's pretty awesome. They actually work, and that was the cool feature of this toy. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you're interested in these darts, you know, just look up Mego 1 million BC caveman darts. It probably won't be up when I first post this video, but I would say soon afterwards I'll start making them and listing them. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you once again when you come back for more great videos.